To my own mom, happy Mother's Day, Kath, from your favorite child. And to the mother of my children, the best woman that I know. Today we take time to honor the women in our lives, our mothers and our grandmothers, the mother of our children or our children's children, the women who make an impact on our lives, the moms, the women in our church family. To say thank you and reflect on the many wonderful things about you and that happen because of you. Things that for 363 other days of the year, and if you're doing the math, you also have a birthday where we can acknowledge these things, but often go unnoticed. There is no prize for or crowd cheering about. Getting up early when you're exhausted, making meals nobody thanks you for, driving everywhere on short or no notice, helping with homework, praying over children late at night, your own or those you love like they're your own. And thank you for that. Lunches made and packed that don't get eaten, holes in clothes sewn just so more can show up, loving consistently when no one's applauding, teaching kindness, correcting attitudes, repeating the same lessons, praying faithfully, setting boundaries, modeling forgiveness, showing patience with your own kids and the kid of your mother-in-law when you're tired. For all of these things and so much more, we say thank you. Thank you for doing them. Thank you for being you. But thank you for modeling for us what Paul was describing in this passage of Scripture from 1 Corinthians 9:24-27, when highlighting for the believers there about what it means to be a church, to be people of discipline. Now, Paul must not have written this letter on Mother's Day because he brings this image to their minds, not with a conversation or the example of mothers or the important women in their lives, but with runners. But he does this for a specific reason, because it was something that would have resonated well with the people that live there. Because their community at that time was home to the second largest sporting event after the Olympics, called the Isthmian Games, a competition of highly trained, finely tuned human beings, people who would travel there for one purpose, to run one race, the chance to win one prize, who would sacrifice, push their bodies beyond their limits to get there. Now, the word Paul uses to describe this in the Greek is agonizomai, which gives us our words agony or agonize, saying that this is not a half-hearted effort. It was often 12 months plus of rigorous training, being temperate in all things, as I read this week. All of that for one opportunity to run in the race and seek the prize. And Paul reminds the readers that at the end of the race, there is only one winner, only one person who walks away with it, only one person who is honored for their efforts who receives the championship crown. A prize that would have been made of parsley or pine or celery stalk that would wither away in time. That perhaps they would have got a parade in their hometown when they got back, maybe a statue put up, not having to pay taxes anymore or something cool like that. But 2 years later, their efforts would be forgotten. The crowd would move on to someone else. The people would be celebrating a new champion. And yet, knowing all of this, the incredible odds stacked against them, the risk of anything happening on that day in their control or outside of it, the temporary nature of the praise, the athletes would train and push themselves and show up. They would still agonize, they would still push their bodies to the point of almost breaking for the chance. As Paul puts it in verse 25, everyone who competes in the game goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. That just as the runners must be disciplined, so too must the Christian believers. That this life is a race, not a sprint, but a marathon. And to live it for Christ, to receive the ultimate prize, eternity with him, it would require the same levels of discipline. It would require showing up to do the little things over and over and over and over again, even when it seems like it isn't making any impact. that they were to be in the Word every day, spending time in prayer, that they were, if to put ourselves in that space, to go to the fellowship groups or the Bible studies, to show up for the community events or the meetings, to practice when we don't want to add the extra items to the grocery cart for the food bank, to send the letters, the cards, or the emails, make the second meal your family won't eat so someone else has something on their table to serve their family. Like the moms or other important women in our lives, it will mean doing all of those often unnoticed things without praise many times, day in and day out. Done that we might hear the cheers of our crowd, hopefully more than once every 2 years, knowing that those too will fade, that we might receive the prizes of this life, the ones that are bought or made, the hugs, the thank yous. But they will fade, move out, break down, or be put away. But we do them trusting that an impact is being made, that the muscle memory is being formed, that we are making an impact even when it seems like we aren't. Trusting that the efforts will lead to the ultimate prize for ourselves, but hopefully those we live and minister to as well. Hearing, well done, good and faithful servant in the end of our lives. This is what it meant to be a church of discipline in Paul's mind. Showing up every day, giving everything to God and to others no matter what. Like the post office motto, to be there in the rain, the sleet, or the shine of life, always delivering. But to Paul, discipline didn't stop there. Because in our passage, he puts that word therefore in there. For you and I, for them to figure out what it's there for. And in this case, it's to highlight the nature of the race they're running. Therefore, I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body, make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. Paul is reminding them that just as important as the physical and spiritual discipline is the mental discipline as well, is the self-care that comes from it. That just like we're realizing now, having a 20-year-old in our house, and my mom reminds me more times than I'd like to admit as a now 43-year-old man, parenting is a lifelong process of showing up. It's daily love, guidance, sacrifice, and example. It requires endurance, discipline, patience, and intentionality every single day from their first breath until our last one. So Paul is telling them here that being a church of discipline means not stopping short of the finish line because you're too exhausted or didn't plan accordingly. Not being like a boxer just swinging wildly, running out of steam later in the fight or missing your mark. Not being disqualified or missing out on the prize. Paul is highlighting the importance to them of being disciplined right through to the very end of the race and their days. To not be content with what they've done in the past or to get caught looking back at what they used to be able to do, but to have the spiritual endurance to finish well. Having grace and reserves for the moments when life would get hard and they felt they couldn't go on. Having strength ready for the times when they came up against opposition and would need to push through. Having patience to continue going when it would seem there was no impact being made. Having energy stored for the end of the race of this life. Paul was warning the Corinthians that they cannot become soft and self-indulgent, but must continue to push themselves right to the very end, continuing to be who God called them to be. That for us, in reading this passage, we can't get caught up looking at the impact we've made over 140 plus years in this community. The impact we've made in the last 140 weeks or days, hours, or seconds. We should acknowledge those efforts, celebrate the little or big wins along the way. But friends, we still have more race to run. Life to live. Grace to grant, love to show, forgiveness to offer. There are still prayers to lift up and examples to live out, handshakes to extend, tears to wipe away, food to provide. That while there is breath in our lungs, there's a calling on us as people and as his church to be his hands and feet in this community, to be his voice calling out into the world, to be his messengers of social justice for those who are being overlooked, oppressed, gone missing, being trafficked, to be his outstretched arms of unconditional love and acceptance for all people, all people. No matter their race, gender, identity, social status, the language they speak, the person they love, what they've done, or what the world thinks about them. Paul is saying to them and to us, just as important as being disciplined when our kids are young or people are watching, is being disciplined when they aren't. Just as important as being disciplined when we are young and full of energy and hope and optimism is being disciplined when we aren't. That just as important it is that we make every effort to make the lives of those who will come after us better, as the amazing women in our lives do every day. In making sure they don't miss out on heaven is making sure that we don't miss out on it as well. That while we don't know when we will get there, we do know where the finish line is. That we keep running faithfully to the end of our time. That we don't lose the discipline before our days are over, content with what was, and lose sight of what is still to come. That to be his force in their community, they as a church in Corinth would need to be a church of discipline. That if we are to continue to be a force for him in this community today, tomorrow, and every day we have left, we as a church here at Oshawa Temple need to be a church of discipline. That our lives, our church would be a living example of the beautiful words of the final verse of In Christ Alone. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of men can ever pluck me from his hand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ, I'll stand.